Time for another installment of The Basics. Unfortunately, on today's show, I won't be discussing any aspect of a single CCG, but rather I am forced to respond to some recent criticism that has been thrown at this show, as well as personal attacks, both by the same person who will remain nameless. I am not going to give that person the gratification or immortalization of mentioning his name here. So, let me explain to you what I'm talking about tonight. I've been a CCG fan since pretty much day one. CCGs have been a huge passion of mine since the early days. And of all the years and all the CCGs I've been involved with, the reason why I started this show was to help out newer gamers getting into certain CCGs, older CCGs, that a lot of us have enjoyed for the better part of 3 decades now, and to show them the various nuances and the simplest things about the games that they need to know. Hence the title of the show called The Basics. And the 3 main CCGs that I discussed on this show being the Star Trek CCG, the X-Files CCG, and Magic the Gathering, I happen to have intimate knowledge of these games. I've played them almost since the very beginning. I know most of the rules inside and out. Yes, there's a few things that might be foggy on the odd time, but this is why I have many different rules supplements at hand. I have Scry magazines with full and extra rule supplements from back in the day. I've got literature from Decipher and Wizards of the Coast and what have you, in case I run into any issues. But for the most part, I am extremely knowledgeable in these CCGs. For someone to start dumping on my show and trying to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, when in reality I know full well what I'm talking about, and I've helped a lot of CCGers since this show came on the air, is just disappointing. For someone that is so down on their own life to have to attack me because I'm doing something that I love and I'm helping people at the same time. To give you an example of my vast knowledge of CCGs, this is a short list of the CCGs that I've been involved with in the 27 years I've been around CCGs. The Star Trek CCG is the longest CCG I've been around. So it first came out in 1994. I bought the premier whiteboarded set and I never looked back. I've been involved with the CCG that long, 27 years. I've been to tournaments, house rules, card shop games. I've helped out with certain aspects of the game in terms of local gatherings and whatnot. I've had many circles of friends and players over the years. Overpower, which was started as a Marvel and then went to DC and Image, a comic book card game. I was involved with Overpower from 1995 to 1999 when I had my original set. I went to a couple tournaments. I played a lot during my high school years because comic books were a huge thing, especially Overpower. I got intimately involved with that game before I decided to give it up and move on. The Star Wars CCG, I've been involved with that game on and off since 1995 when it came out. As much as I love Star Wars, I didn't get huge into it. I did have an original set that I ended up selling. I had a second set about 10 years ago that I had for a few years. I played a bit and I got rid of that set. The X-Files CCG, which came out in 1996, I've had 2 separate sets, one in the 90s and one now. One of the reasons why I got back into X-Files is because of the investigative side of the game, as I've mentioned on this show many times, and being a huge fan of the original series. Magic the Gathering, I didn't get into it right in 1993 when it came out. I didn't actually know about it till 1994 when I started high school. I got into it the first time around in 1997, but have been involved with it since the present. I got my second set many, many years ago and built it up to what it is now, which is nearly 4,000 cards, 7 constructed decks. Needless to say, I know Magic the Gathering almost as much as I know the Star Trek CCG. Middle-earth, I dabbled in that in 1997. Not a big fan of it, but it was a thing. Yu-Gi-Oh! I actually played that for 2 years with a couple friends of mine at the time. Wasn't big on it, ended up getting out of it. Spellfire, I dabbled in that in 1995 because of a friend of mine. I didn't actually buy any of the cards. I used his. Wasn't really as big of a fan of that as other CCGs. Battletech, I very briefly got into that in 1996 when it came up, but there wasn't many players. Warhammer 40K, I've gotten back into that slightly, but it's a money pit and I've decided not to attain it. Needless to say, and this is of course counting a handful of minor CCGs that I can't even remember that I was also into. Needless to say, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to CCGs. And I'm trying to parlay that knowledge and experience to newer players. I do not appreciate, and sorry to use this language, people shitting on my show and me personally that have nothing better to do with their time. If you're going to comment on my show for the express purpose of shitting on me and my show, don't even bother. I don't want to hear from you. I want to hear from the people that this show benefits the most, the younger players, people that might have forgotten a lot of the rules or the odd rule here and there on their favorite CCGs, and just fans in general that are as passionate as I am about CCGs. That all being said, it's one thing I can't stand is bullies. People that belittle other people because they have nothing better to do in their lives but pick on people that are just trying to do something that they enjoy and are passionate about. I have no time for that. I hate bullies. To all of you people out there, my viewers, my subscribers, fans, people that have left me positive messages on my videos and have told me that they are enjoying them immensely and can't wait for the next one, I appreciate each and every one of you and for helping me to make the basics what it is today. And to all of you haters that have criticized me and attacked me personally as well as my show, get bent. It's as simple as that. I had no time for that shit. Have a great day, everybody.